Dr. Stephen Donnelly.
Thank you, Las Ceann Comhairle. I'd like to thank the Minister for his contribution this evening, and I'd like to thank deputies from all sides of the House for their contributions over the last 2 days. Minister, we've a lot to be proud of in Ireland right now. Businesses are growing and creating new jobs. The deficit is being eliminated and the economy is expanding. And yet, for all of this, public trust in government is at an all-time low. This year's Edelman Trust Barometers shows that public trust in institutions in Ireland is second from the bottom of the 27 countries assessed. Trust in business has fallen since last year. Trust in the media has fallen since last year. Trust in government officials and regulators has fallen since last year. Why is this, Minister? It's because for all the growth, there's a whiff that things are not quite right. It's because people don't believe that we're all on a level playing field, that there are insiders and that there's everybody else. It's because nobody's seeing any accountability or consequences for some of the things that are going on. There was an experiment done in New York City a few years ago where they parked a car on a street to see how long it would take to be broken into. They parked it on a well-maintained street, and then they repeated the experiment on a street with several broken windows. And it'll come as no surprise that on the street with the broken windows, the car was broken into much quicker. Ask anyone who maintains a public park. If there's vandalism and graffiti already going on, it'll be quickly repeated. Clean it up and you get a lot less damage. This is because we all react to our environment. We are more likely to break the law if we believe that other people are breaking the law. And we are more likely to break the law if we believe that the chances of being caught and penalised are slim. Now, this lack of accountability exists in Ireland today. In response to serious allegations of insider trading related to the site-served Dail, Deputy Catherine Murphy contacted the stock exchange and asked them to investigate. They said it wasn't their job and she should talk to the central bank. So Deputy Murphy contacted the central bank and asked them to investigate. They said it wasn't their job and she should contact the Office of the Director of Corporate Enforcement. So she did, and they said there was nothing to investigate. To this day, not a single case of insider trading has been taken in Ireland. The agencies with responsibility in Ireland for tackling corruption are dispersed and under-resourced, as evidenced by Deputy Murphy's attempts to bring serious allegations to the right authorities. The Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has numerous cases of alleged anti-competitive and cartel behaviour, but it doesn't have the resources to investigate them. Judge Cregan recently reported that he had neither the power nor the resources needed to investigate the large IBRC transactions he was asked to look at. Nowhere, Minister, is the fragmented nature of the state's response to corruption better illustrated than in the government's own counter-motion. Last night the Minister referred to the Central Bank Supervision and Enforcement Act, the Companies Act, the Electoral Act, the Ombudsman Act, the Protected Disclosures Act, the Regulation of Lobbying Act, the Freedom of Information Act, the Criminal Justice Act, the Public Sector Standards Bill and the Planning and Development Bill. Lots of legislation, no investigation, no enforcement, no accountability. What is the point of the legislation? The government makes great play of things being done, but of course the public don't trust them. And why should they? In response to numerous specific parliamentary questions to Minister Noonan regarding the site-served Dail, the Minister steadfastly refused to disclose that there were any concerns. Until Deputy Murphy followed up with Freedom of Information requests, at which point the concerns did start to appear in Minister Noonan's parliamentary replies. The Taoiseach sent a senior civil servant to the home of the Garda Commissioner late at night and maintains to this day that there was no intent to put any pressure on the Garda Commissioner to resign, which, surprise, surprise, he did the next morning. Due process of Parliament was overturned on the banking inquiry, with the government adding 2 members and then the Taoiseach coming into this House and stating that he had done it to control the terms of reference of the banking inquiry. The Social Democrats, in our motion before the House tonight, are proposing a policy response to restore public trust, to create accountability and to foster a culture of openness. We are proposing the establishment of an independent anti-corruption agency. The agency would have the powers and the resources to initiate and conduct investigations. It would bring together several relevant agencies, including the Standards and Public Office Commission, the Office of the Director of Corporate Enforcement, the Register of Lobbyists and the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. And critically, Minister, the agency would be able to initiate investigations, conduct investigations, compel witnesses, arrest and prosecute through the courts. Nothing like that exists in Ireland today, and we all see the consequences. The Social Democrats' proposal is based on a model in Victoria, recently set up and already showing very promising results. It was developed with the input of Rory Traynor and Gavin Elliott, who I would like to thank for their hard work in working with us to put this proposal together. And Minister, the creation of an anti-corruption agency was explicitly called for on Monday night after the primetime programme by David Waddell, former head of Secretariat at SIPO. Were the agency in place, the inquiry being conducted by Judge Cregan would be undertaken by this agency, with sufficient powers, with sufficient resources, and with the advantage of interagency expertise. Were the agency in place, Minister, it is far less likely that we'd see the sort of behaviour uncovered by RTE's Primetime Investigates team on Monday night. Indeed, David Waddell stated that SIPO doesn't even have the resources to do the kind of investigation that RTE's Primetime team has. That, in and of itself, should tell you all you need to know. And indeed, Minister, were the agency in place, serious allegations of insider trading would be investigated and not passed from pillar to post and then dropped. Last night, the Minister stated that he didn't know how the amalgamation of different agencies would enhance the capacity of the state to fight corruption. Amalgamation would bring cooperation and expertise. Coupled with sufficient powers and sufficient resources, an independent anti-corruption agency would be a bold statement from government that the culture needs to change and that public trust must be re-earned. Now, the government protests that it is serious about tackling corruption, that it is serious about creating a culture of openness, that it is serious about establishing a level playing field. At this stage, nobody believes that to be true. And so, Minister, here's the challenge to you and your government tonight. If you really are serious about tackling corruption, if you really are serious about giving the state the type of resources and powers needed to fight corruption, then accept the Social Democrats' recommendation and begin the process of establishing an independent anti-corruption agency to send a clear message to the public that the culture and the rules have changed for good and for the better. Thank you, Lascian Corley.
So now